Okay, I'm Ben Calkins, co-founder. I call myself the co-founder of the Center for Free Enterprise. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. I wanted to acknowledge our sponsors, which include Wyndham Ratchford, who is our videographer, and Dave and Dale Litkowski of Litkowski and Company Accountants have been very helpful to us, and Fast Forward Business Advisors, also my own law firm, the Calkins Law Firm. We're very honored today to have a great resource who lives in Aurora and is a local and homegrown success story, who started out with a salon business, and then and he'll tell us the story. Hopefully, he started out with a salon business. He learned a lot about customer service from his customers, and he saw what they liked and what they didn't like. And then he had the determination, vision to commit some of those observations and thoughts that he had about customer service to writing. He mentioned to me earlier this morning that he blogs every week, 50 blogs a year, 250 blogs every 5 years. He wrote his first book in 2002, and then the 250 blogs every 5 years give him fodder for a book every 5 years. And now we're very fortunate to have him because he's a widely sought after public speaker and trainer all over the world. And so with that, let me introduce John DiJulius of the DiJulius Group. Thank you.
I have a presentation here that I don't have to go through. It's entirely up to you. I'll share a little bit about my backstory, and then we could just talk if you want. I got plenty of information, even though people love to hear about customer experience right now with the employee experience and the Great Resignation and all that, which is really important. So if you guys want to talk about some things like that. But let me try to give you a little bit of my background story. 30 years ago, me and my wife opened up John Roberts Spa. I was driving a truck for UPS, and I just graduated from college, Cleveland State, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was obsessed with being an entrepreneur, and I had played baseball in college, and I couldn't figure out what I would own, because my only two passions was to own a business and sports. So I assumed back in the late 80s I was going to open a sporting goods store. That was kind of my 2 + 2. However, I was driving for UPS, or I was loading trucks for UPS in the middle of the night while I was in college. And so when I graduated in the late 80s, my marketing degree got me $18,000 to $22,000 job offers. Or I could go driving. I had enough seniority to go driving for $45,000, which was $1 billion to me at the time. Came from very poor background, single mom that raised 6 of us. We were on welfare, so that money was just, sick money to me. However, when I drove for UPS, good job, great job, but every day I'd say in 29 more years, 3 months and 2 days, I could retire. And I wanted to get old as fast as I could, right? Because that's not what I wanted on my tombstone. So, but it was golden handcuffs, right? I mean, you make 45 and you spend 46. So along the way, I meet my wife, and she's this great hairdresser, book solid. But the industry was really bad back then. It wasn't professional. Salons weren't professional. Salons didn't give their employees benefits, training, vacation, and the salon industry lost a lot of employees to real industries, right? They'd go work at Progressive. And these people might love to do hair or facials or whatever they were doing, but they just wasn't a real job. So as I'm learning this, I'm like, well, we should open a salon and do things a little different. And they were horrible at customer service, just horrible. Her boss used to throw people out that would complain, right? I mean, it was crazy. And so we wanted to be the best experience you could have in the day, not compared to another salon, because that's really important. That's an important lesson for everyone here. A lot of times we will brag, all of us in general, how much better we are than our competitors. And even if it's true, it's kind of irrelevant, right? Because if I use you, I'm probably not going to your competitors and comparing, right? If you come in and get a haircut today at our salons, you then don't leave and go down the street to any of our competitors to say, oh my God, they're so much better, so much worse. So it's what your experiences are today when you go to the store, the doctor's office, out to lunch, whatever, that's what you're comparing to. So our goal, we wanted to be the best experience anyone could have in a day. And then everything else, paled in comparison. And we wanted to give back to the community. So we opened the salon. I'm driving a truck, and we almost go out of business because we have no idea what we're doing. And I jump in full time, and I quit UPS. And my wife is this, great hairdresser, and I brought the business systems, and all of a sudden it just starts exploding. 91, 92, 93, we start growing, knocking down walls, opening up new locations. And so then I thought, all right, we're just going to be the Starbucks of the salon business, and open salons in every city. And along that time, people like this would say, you guys got a pretty good reputation. Can you come and speak at a chamber or something? And I had no interest in speaking, but I figured it'd be good marketing for the salon. So I'd go and do it. And then every time I spoke, 2 or 3 people would come up and say, can you do this for our company? And I was, I didn't know what they meant, like do what? And they're like, and what's your fee? And I had no idea that this was a business, and I had to stall and come back with stuff. So I started speaking a lot, and then it really started taking off. So I'm speaking at bigger events, and I started seeing the big, huge speakers, and I thought, man, I think I could do this. So I wrote my first book, Secret Service, which it's customer service. It came out in 2002, 20 years ago. And up to then, I was a salon owner that spoke a few times, 6 to 12 times a year. And then as soon as that book came out, I went from a salon owner that spoke to a speaker that owned salons. And I literally haven't been in the salon industry ever since. Still own them, but they have nothing to do with the day-to-day. So that grew the DiJulius Group, which initially started off as a customer service, speaking company, if you will. But it just grew, and companies like the Ritz-Carlton and Chickfil-A and Starbucks and everything hired us. My second book came out, What's the Secret, in 2008, and that propelled us to a consulting company. So now we just consult with some of the greatest companies in the world. I opened my third brand, I think in 2013, called Believe in Dreams, and it's just a Northeast Ohio charity, nonprofit, that it's kind of Make-A-Wish, but not for medical. Make-A-Wish is all medical. Ours is for kids that suffer from non-medical hardship. And so it's really powerful. Like these kids, we say any dream you want, and what they've been through is just brutal, and they say newer pair of shoes or a bed without bugs. Like we're expecting trips to Disney and this, and it's just really humbling. So the DiJulius Group is where I spend all my time. We have the Customer Service Revolution Conference. We put that on in Cleveland every year in the fall, and this year, we have 2 days, and 500 to 700 people from all over the world, literally all over the world come. We've had people come from Qatar and Israel and Australia. We have the Customer Experience Executive Academy. That is the fastest growing position in corporate America, is the Chief Experience Officer. So this is like a master's degree that people send to us, and they come to Cleveland. I usually don't talk in Cleveland, so I have to stop. I have to explain what Cleveland is to other people. But they come to Cleveland 4 quarters, once a quarter for 3 days for a year. So it's like a master's degree. And then our final brand that we just opened up 2 years ago is CX Coaching, Customer Experience Coaching, and that's like a franchise model. We have about 22 coaches all over, mostly all over the U.S., but we have Canada and Australia, and the rest in U.S. that are licensed to use our methodology, and they go out and do it themselves. and they're their own business. And the DiJulius Group really serves 100 million and up, and they serve this 50 and down. We can't, we haven't been able to help the smaller businesses. So that's what that is. I've written 4 best-selling books on customer service and customer experience, and have worked with some pretty cool brands. And in every industry, we've been helping Qatar, the country, the last several years get ready for the FIFA World Cup. We work with police stations. Besides the typical that you'd think, we work with the government. I mean, we've worked with, everyone and anyone in between. So it's surprising. So I can go into my presentation, or we could talk about anything. Customer experience, what's the number one thing? Employee experience. Oh, you want the presentation?
You can make it quick, but
all right.
It will give us a foundation.
Okay. Well, so this is on customer experience. Let me just do a 3-minute rant on the Great Resignation, okay? First, we shouldn't call it a labor shortage. It's a turnover crisis, right? And a labor shortage takes the onus off us, leaders. So it's a labor shortage. No, it's a turnover crisis, and that's on us. And I had a leadership epiphany about a year ago. So has anybody ever heard the quote? I'm sure you all have. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? You've heard that. You like it? I agree with it. I said it ad nauseum to my 3 boys. I say it every time I have an orientation class with new employees, and telling them about that. And, who do you blame? So let's say my average of people I hang out with are less desirable. Don't feed me positive, pull me in the wrong direction. Who's responsible for the 5 I hang out with? You are. Correct. Except for our employees. They don't get to pick, right? If we have toxic work environments, if we're looking the other way, the 2 biggest mistakes companies are making right now is hiring anyone with a pulse to replace the turnover, and looking the other way on C and D players because we're short-staffed. I can't, I should get rid of them, but I can't, right? So now you have rock stars, and rock stars hate working with, below average and average people. So one of 2 things happen. The better thing for everyone, not necessarily for our business, but the rock star gets the hell out of here, right? It's the best thing for him or her. The other problem, if he doesn't do that or she doesn't do that, is she becomes the average of the 5. And so that really bothered me. I lost sleep at night of my responsibility, right? I can't blame my employees for who they're surrounding themselves with. So we got to be really careful. One of the best quotes, hardest quotes to live by is it's better to lose the sale than the reputation, right? That's so hard because all I want is growth. We all want growth. But if in any business model, the demand is there and I take you and I give you him and he's not, what we are used to, I get the sale, but you're never coming back. And you're doing brand terrorism about me. Versus, we have a weight, whatever that weight looks like. You'll probably come back, and you'll probably want to do business with us because you can't get in. There's something about that. It's so hard to say, but it's one of the best compasses to live by. It's better to lose the sale than the reputation. So I got a lot on the whole. Our theme this year for our conference is the Great Retention, and how to win the Great Retention, and how to there's great opportunities right now. With capturing so much of that workforce that's not working. All right, if you're going to build a world-class customer service company, be it a bank, be it a restaurant, be it a hot dog stand, doesn't matter. What is more important? A, the hiring, or B, hiring of new employees, or B, the training and culture I want you to vote, but before you vote, I'm going to tell you the obvious answer is both, right? You cannot achieve this without doing both extremely well. But for this scenario, I'm asking you to give me one extra point, 51% on one of those. There's no wrong answers. How many people would go with A, the hiring of new employees? Raise your hand. Wow. How many people go with B, training and culture? Well, that's the first time I've had it unanimous. Usually it's about 60-40, but I'm going to agree with B's, and this time I didn't offend anyone. I think A is huge. I've written chapters and books, and to me, and I just started with it. Our culture, we're not for everyone, nor do we want to be. We put up a 30-foot high fence with barbed wire around it. That's, to me, what our culture's like, right? However, do we really think that Disney's and Nordstroms and Starbucks and Chick-fil-A's of the world found 50,000 employees born to serve? No, I don't think there's 500 human beings walking the planet born to serve, right? But Disney himself, Walt said himself, I love this quote, we don't put our people in Disney, we put Disney in our people. That's what you have to do. You got to put your brand in people from the moment, recruiting, day one orientation, that their head is spinning, and this is unlike any place I've ever worked before. How good any company is at customer service comes down to one thing and one thing only, service aptitude. A person's ability to recognize opportunities to exceed customers' expectations regardless of the circumstances. Those last 4 words are key here, regardless of the circumstances. We could all look great on our slowest day, fully staffed, nothing going wrong, supply chain, no supply chain issues, but when shit hits the fan, right? When we're running late, when we don't have it, that's when we have to, make sure our employees are a rock star. Now, this isn't the paradigm shift. The paradigm shift is where service aptitude comes from. Too many people think it's innate and common sense, okay? There's 3 places it comes from. All of ours came from, all right? First place is previous life experiences. I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up staying at 5-star resorts, flying first class, getting $150 haircuts, or driving a Mercedes-Benz when I turned 16, right? Yet, the first 10 jobs I got expected me to give that type of experience to those types of clients, tenants, patients, guests, whatever we may call them. It's not fair, right? I mean, we don't know what world class is, yet we're expected to give world class. The worst compass you can have for a customer service vision is to say, hey, the golden rule. Do the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Not in a work environment. All right? I have 3 boys. One just graduated from college. If you hired him today and said, Cal, I want you to treat our clients the way you want to be treated, that'd be a big mistake. He'd be like, dude, what's up? Right? You'd say, Cal, do you have a belt? Why? Can you pull up your pants a little? And right? That's what he's used to. So it's not fair. The second place service aptitude gets shaped is previous work experience. So unless you have a direct pipeline to former Disney, Chick-fil-A, Ritz-Carlton employees, which none of us do, that means your existing generation of employees and your future generation of employees have all worked somewhere else. And it probably wasn't at a world-class customer service organization. It probably was at a place where they got brainwashed to say, hey, customers are here to take advantage of them. Don't let them. I have this niece, about 15 years ago, when she was in college. I've always tried to get her to go to beauty school or become a receptionist at the salon. She's cute, bubbly, energetic girl that would be great in a retail environment, customer facing. And I said to her, "What are you doing?" She's going to school and working at a restaurant. And I go, "Oh, what do you do at the restaurant?" And she goes, "Well, I serve people and I police the restrooms." I said, "Oh, that's important, right? You got to have clean bathrooms at a restaurant." She goes, "No, that's not what I mean." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "It's my job." She got real stern. "My job not to let anyone use the restrooms unless they paid for something first." She goes, "In fact, the other day I chased this guy down the hall, blocked him from going in, and I threw him out." And she was so proud. I'm like, "Oh my God, right? This is my niece with the same last name, right? So a lot of you might think, boy, was John wrong about his niece. No, my niece is a rock star. She works for someone. He or she told him, hey, this is your job. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. And she says, okay, and she listens. Now, any of us, we probably interviewed her. She would have been, great on an interview, hired her, and then she's treating our platinum VIP client like they're trying to get away with something, right? So we can't control these two things as leaders. The only thing we can control is, third thing, is what we do with after we hire them. And so this is a great question to go do the math on when you get back home or in your office, is if you're hiring one of my sons tomorrow to be in a customer-facing position, on the phones, account executive, whatever that may look like, how much training would you give him before he could start interacting with your customer base? All right? Some people say 2 days, some people say 2 weeks, some people say 2 months. That's not the number I'm looking for. Of the 4,400, 4,000 hours of training that you're going to give him, this is the number I'm looking for. What percentage of that is operational product knowledge, processes, procedures, and what percentage of that is soft skill, right? Building a relationship, right? Showing genuine hospitality, making a brilliant comeback when we drop the ball, all those things. And in typical places, it's way over 98% operational. And that less than 2% is kind of like this. This is our back room of our building. And my new employee, I forget your name, Matthew, see that sign? We're customer obsessed. We're customer centric. You do that. Okay. Right? And if you tell 100 employees to go above and beyond, if you tell 100 employees to be customer centric, you'll get 100 personal interpretations. So some of the things, one of the best things world-class customer service companies do is they remove personal interpretation. I'll give you some examples in a little bit of this is exactly what you have to deliver. Okay? So here's how you wrap up this section. It's not your employee's responsibility to have high service aptitude. It's the companies that give it to them. Right? We got to certify that just as much as anything. Another great thing, there's a disconnect, and there's studies. Bain & Company asked 300 leaders from 300 different organizations, different industry, how many of them felt that their businesses provided superior customer service? You want to take a guess at what percentage felt that their brands gave superior customer service? 80%. Yep. Pretty good group, so they thought. What they didn't know was they were surveying 3,000 of their clients. Anybody want to take a guess at what their percentage of their clients agreed with them? Lower. 8. So when I have a company, and I'll start with it. Hey, how many people in here feel you give the best, or superior service? And I have to look around, and do this when you go back to your thing. I have to look around and see whose hand isn't up. Everyone's like, oh, we care. And it goes back to, maybe because our industry's so bad, right? We're the best in our industry. Who knows? But, there's a lot of reasons why we think we're better than we are. Our employees think we're better than we are. But the biggest disconnect is in most businesses, the employees aren't the customer, okay? The kid parking your car at the Ritz-Carlton, number one, has never stayed at a Ritz-Carlton, right? He's not the age and income of the guests that stay at the Ritz-Carlton. He's parking Lamborghinis and Maseratis and anything that ends with a vowel, and he doesn't drive that type of car, right? There's a disconnect. My hairdressers, we have 150, and a significant number are 30 and under. Our average guest at the spa is a 40 to 55-year-old professional female. So if I'm 25, what do I know what it's like to be a 50-year-old anyone, right? We're 24 hours enough time of the day, 36 hours enough time of the day. And kids, and pressures at work, and aging parents, and relationships, and I don't have to tell this room, right? All that. So the answer doesn't mean we change who we hire, but we have to help them realize what their customers going through, right, every day. So it's all, we work with a lot of healthcare systems. And the healthcare, what my staff at John Roberts will call you is my 5:30 here yet? My 8th haircut of the day, my 3rd last one until I could be off for the weekend. But meanwhile, we'll have people that will ask their spouse, in-laws, everyone, you know, for my birthday, can you get me this gift certificate to a nice spa? And they get it. And then they block off for the next month. Now it's 30 days. They get a babysitter. They leave work early. You know, all that. And now this is their day, but we're looking as our 5:30. Right? Well, that's our battle. Hospitals, they call their customers 201B. What's that? Room and bed. No, that's my mother. Right? And we're all guilty of it. I had a keynote in San Francisco yesterday. Right? And we got to be careful. Right? When we transactionalize things, we start losing the human side of it. So, what great companies do is they make, we've done this with 200 Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and everyone, Price Waterhouse, Key Bank. We help them create a day in the life of a customer, okay? So I'm going to show you the day in the life of a John Roberts customer, which is all of you. Whether you come there or not, it's your day. So my staff realizes this is who's coming in today. This is what's on their plate.
I'm living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountains, we gon' walk it out, and mountains. The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountains, bring it to its feet.
So hopefully that took you on a roller coaster, right? And the job of a great, and there's so many great day in the lives I could tell you. You can go to YouTube and type in Chick-fil-A. Every person has a story. I mean, we got it for so many different industries. But the two things it's supposed to, excuse me, point out is what could be happening in their lives, at work or at home, which wants to make me more present and in the moment. And so I don't say, is my 10:30 here yet? My whatever, I was talking to a physical therapy group yesterday, and they say, is my rotator cuff here yet, right? And we're all guilty of that. But the other thing is, you see things in the video that shows you how important your expertise is to that interaction. So in our case, she's online dating, or she's going to her high school reunion, or whatever it may be, that obviously feeling and looking their 10. So any questions with that? Anybody need a hug? All right. What we like to do is make price irrelevant. You absolutely can make price irrelevant. If you think about Lululemon and Amex and the Ritz and Starbucks, there's so many. Apple, right? They've made price irrelevant. Price irrelevant doesn't mean you could charge, any amount of money in the world and people pay it. What it does mean is, based on the experience your brand consistently delivers, your customer should have no idea what your competition charges. Okay? So, listen, I'm cheap. I drive 3 extra miles, say 50 cents on something, not realizing I just lost in that exchange, right? Especially with the gas prices now. But personally and professionally, I have a few businesses that has made me so loyal. Peace of mind, trust, rapport, made a brilliant comeback if they ever drop the ball, that they are a non-negotiable. That, and a lot of times, like, one of them is my handyman, right? Hooper, that's his name, Brian Hooper. Greatest handyman I've used. Doesn't work for me, but I've used him for over 30 years on all my businesses, remodels, houses, everything. And so if I'm talking and you say, I need my sink fixed, or I need my bedroom refit, you got to use Hooper. What's a Hooper? And then I throw up on him, and oh my God, he's the greatest guy, yada, yada, yada. And then sometimes people say, well, how much does he charge? Because my handyman charges $125 an hour, and that's where I'm embarrassed. I have no idea, right? I can call my assistant and say, pull up his last invoice, but I don't know if he's 100 or 200, and I don't care, because he saves me money. He's there, he does it right, all those things. So that's where we want to live. We want to live where people don't even know how we compare, because they're so happy to us. So this is something I had to explain. I have to explain. I speak every week, couple places, not in Cleveland. So I always got to explain Cleveland to people. Yesterday I was in San Francisco, so I had to explain. In Cleveland, the average haircut for a woman is $32. Okay, they almost threw up, because in San Francisco it's $250, right? So I said, our salon, our least expensive hairdresser, after they go through training, is $50, level 1. And then we have level 8, 9s, and 10s that are $100 to $150 in Cleveland, and they're booked out for 3 weeks to 3 months. Okay? So I got to explain that first, because we're Midwest. And I said several years ago, a salon next to one of our, 4 doors down from one of ours, put this sign in their window. Okay? We do $10 haircuts. And my staff started freaking out. Like, oh my God, they're going to run us out of business. Right? We do $100 haircuts. We got to start running promotions, discounts. I say, no, we don't play those games. Let's focus on our experience. Let's make sure it's consistent, right? Let's raise the bar, and then we put this sign in our window. And 6 months or so later, that salon went out of business. Right? That was a desperation move by them. Don't chase it if it's not your game. We don't compete in price wars in any of our businesses. We compete in experience wars. A lot less competition that doesn't do it as well. All right, second thing, I'm going to do this a little faster because I really want to open it up to questions, is companies create a customer experience action statement, which is a clear call to what every employee should be intentionally doing every time they interact. This is different from your mission. It's different from your purpose. It's different from your core values. And I guarantee you, I will bet you, that you go up to your employees and say, what's our mission statement? And if it's not the owner or COO, they're going to fumble it. You're going to say, no, that's half of our purpose and half of one of our core values, right? And that's okay. I have 4 brands. I love my mission statements. I could bore you with them and tell you why they're, but my employees don't know them, unless they read them off a placard or something. But the customer experience action statement, they better know. Top of mind awareness, because this is what they have to do every time they interact with someone. So I'll give you a difference between a mission, purpose, and customer experience action statement. Okay, we work with KeyBank. The mission is to be the best bank in the U.S. Great. But what's that mean if you're a teller, loan officer, right? What does that mean? It's not actionable. That's a result. Their purpose is to help clients and community strive. Great. What's that mean if you call me up today, you come in today? That's not something is actionable. Their customer experience action statement is make every moment matter, and then the pillars are the how. Head, heart, hero. Head, no one better be smarter than you at your job. Heart is you're not just, smart at your job, but you care about who you're working with and the person, you get to know them and all that. And hero is you have the opportunity, if you see it, to do something, move some mountains, right? Make it happen. Don't just stick to policy and that. John Robert Spot. So you see it in our video, we ended with this. We want to be the best experience in our guest day. Know more, connect more, give more, right? That's the how. All those three things. All right. I'm going to jump. Oh, we've done it with Starbucks. We helped Starbucks create theirs. And for over 12 years, I think from 2009 to 2021, if you can go into any Starbucks in the world, Malaysia, Singapore, Cleveland, they all had it on the inside of their green apron, right? Why is it on the inside? Because it's not for us to see, it's for them to see. It's not something you advertise externally. You only advertise to your customer. All right. Excuse me, our most recent book, The Relationship Economy. I did a TED Talk. If you Google it, it's called Meet As Friends, Leave As Strangers. It's 9 minutes and 31 seconds. Show it to your staff. Show it to your kids if your kids are 8 years or older. Okay, and I'm going to give you the 2-minute abridged version right now. There's no greater skill that any of us could work at on a daily basis that will have a bigger impact in our personal, professional lives than the ability to build an instant rapport with someone else, right? I think we all agree. Someone else being an acquaintance, stranger, coworker, client, friend, you name it. As important as we all agree that is, it's not taught anywhere. It's not taught at home anymore. It's not taught in school at any level. The only place it's being taught is the best businesses. And you have to understand that all of us, every generation, our people skills are eroding, right? And there's a lot of us older people in here that, but because of technology and the pandemic accelerated it, we don't have the inherent people skills we used to. We're still better than the younger generations, but we're getting rusty, okay? Then, at no fault of their own, there's generations 30 and under that are relationship disadvantaged because they've only grown up in that. Okay, so what do? How do you teach someone how to build a rapport? First thing is, remind ourselves and teach them that everyone they come in contact with has an invisible sign above their head that says, make me feel important. Right? Everyone. You do, I do, the UPS man does. All right? Stephen Covey said, people don't listen with the intent of understanding, they listen with the intent of replying. You agree with that? Yeah. So scientists study the human brain. And they found that it took the human brain a minimum of 0.6 seconds to formulate a response to something said to it. 0.6 seconds. Then they studied hundreds, thousands of conversations and found the average gap between people talking was 0.2 seconds. How can I be responding in 1/3 the time my brain will allow me? How? What? No, that was a joke. So what should we do when we talk to others? Or listen, right? The greatest gift we can give anyone is the gift of our attention. And that's hard today, right? We got a lot of distractions, a lot of devices, a lot of things at home, and even like when I get home from the airport, and I'm wired and still stressed out from the flight or what could have happened today, I'll pull in my garage, and I know I'm not ready to give this gift to my family. So I'll sit my car in the garage with the engine off for another 10 minutes, right, until I could bring that gift. So if I apologize, what is it? Name? Yeah, that's what I thought. Matthew, if me and Matthew spend some more time right after this and we talk for 15, 20 minutes, that doesn't mean I built a rapport. It doesn't mean I built a relationship with Matthew. Why? Because I could have spoke about myself for that 15, 20 minutes. We are all genetically coded to be preoccupied with what's going on in our life. Maybe Matthew, my flight last night. Matthew, my son got in trouble. Matthew, my number one salesperson's threatening to quit and throwing up on him. So how do you resist that urge? How do you train your employees to resist that urge of talking about them? And so this is why I have to prove myself. This is what my employees literally have to track. If my 3 sons, any of my sons are with me and I see Matthew talking to one of them, my son knows what I'm going to ask them. So they have to focus on this, okay? Any length of conversation, you have to know 2 or more things of someone else's Ford. If you learn 2 or more things of someone else's Ford, you not only built a relationship, you own the relationship, right? Because to each of us, our own Ford is what we geek out about. So we start getting excited, talking fast, right? Family. Is he married? Does he have kids? How old are his kids? What activities are his kids into? Occupation, what do they do? How long they've been doing it? What's their title? What's the company name? Recreation is a lot of people's hottest buttons. What we do with our free time, evenings, weekends is huge, right? And dreams, right? What's on our bucket list? What's our dream succession career that we're working towards? What's our dream vacation? So a lot of business, especially B2B, this is easy. A lot of, and it doesn't have to be like a stalker checklist. It just comes up organically. But every company we work with, and all my brands, there's never been a CRM system that we couldn't, that you can't customize. So before I have a call, I could pull up Salesforce on my phone, and it reminds me of who Ben is. Oh, that's right, right? Where he's from, where he grew up, all those things. All right. This is what, at the end of the day, when someone says, hey, how was your day? How was your work day? This is what it should look like.
David, Smith.
Nancy Andrews.
Yep. What are you up to these days?
I'm married. I've got 2 great kids. You want to see their pictures?
Yes. Wow.
How about you?
Married, no kids yet. Work for Southern Community Bank. Bunch of great customers. Want to see their pictures?
Sure.
She owns a shoe store. This is Kevin. He's saving to buy a house.
That's knowing people's Ford. Okay. That's where you can, sign up for my blog or, a lot of videos, the TED Talk, the day in the life of a customer, if you want to show that to your staff, all that stuff there. All right, I want to open it up. What'd you hear? What didn't you hear? How does it apply to your world? Yes.
Observation.
You're retired. Nothing applies to your world.
Well, so I spent 37 years at IBM.
Okay.
I joined IBM. One of our core beliefs was best customer service, and then we did it, right? That we spent a year training on how to do that. Somewhere along the line, I think it's the stock market, I think it's Wall Street, changed our focus from our customers to our shareholders.
100%.
Okay, and since then, we don't give a crap about our employees, our customers, unless it's improving our stock value.
Right.
And my belief is we, the big corporations, are responsible for what we're experiencing today because there's no loyalty by the organization, so there's no loyalty.
100%. I mean, so many things. Listen, I think the Great Resignation, and it's hurting my business. It has its effect like anyone else. Is just it was a professional awakening for a lot of employees. Kind of like if you've ever heard someone speak who survived a near-death experience. What they say is they went home, they dumped their husband, quit their job, kicked the dog, whatever, because they, and it's kind of the same thing. They woke up saying, this is bullshit. And I believe, it's gotten way out of control. The disproportionate salaries, right, between the top CEOs and that minimum wage hasn't gone up in, 15 years outside of California. I mean, and we all got lazy. Since 2010, it's been a great economy that we've been riding. And, we take our eye off the ball. It's the companies that truly care about that. To me, my definition, for a great company or great leaders they help people live great lives, right? And then everything else follows. And there's just not enough of them anymore. And it is capitalism and that.
Your story reminds me a little bit of A. Ray Dalton that came and spoke here, and maybe Ben will share that with you at some point. But in any case, my daughter has risen to a pretty high point with Willis Towers Watson, and she always reprimands me because I still do what my mother says, is take roses to the nuns, or take a little gift to my client, or whatever, some brownies if I made them, whatever. You're never going to get it back, Mom. You're never going to get it back. Just go and have the meeting. And I'm like, Michelle, I can't. I still have to do what Mom taught me. I'm trying to reteach her.
Yeah, I think my last chapter, my latest book is titled Give More, right? And this is the opposite of quiet quitting, okay? And that's just a stupid term. I assume everyone's heard it. It's all over. They act like it's something new. Quiet quitting is just showing up, right? And we've all had people on our teams, sports, classes, and work that, punching at the last possible second, left at the earliest thing. And those are just squatters, right? They've never attained much. Give more, what you do, give more. I love these two words. Give more than anyone expects. Give more to your company, give more to your employees, give more to your client. We live in a very cynical society today, and our agreement, our arrangement, whatever that is, you're supposed to do A, B, and C, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But we wait. I'm going to make sure you do A, B, and C before I do mine, right? That's not how we should live. I teach myself, my boys, my employees, do X, Y, and Z, and throw in W. Even though W wasn't part of, and she wasn't expecting W, always give more. So if you borrow someone's pickup truck to move furniture, give them that pickup truck with more gas and cleaner than how they gave it to you. And the way it'll come back to you is almost selfish, the way it comes back to you, right?
Your speech also reminds me of one of the last ones I heard by one of the most poignant and wonderful CEOs of the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Lou. A year or so before he finally retired, he brought in someone like yourself to talk to a whole group of people, probably 500. He pulled his administrators, top doctors, everybody over to the Intercontinental Hotel, which we had just redesigned and opened up. And this group taught them, it was doctors too, you need to write a thank you note to that nurse who did something exceptional that day. And I just sat there and everyone in the room was like, thank you note to our employee.
But that's our customer too.
But
our customer's anyone that's dependent on the work we're doing.
I was just the art consultant, but I was taking notes.
Love that.
So how do you? Oh, I'm sorry. I just have a comment and/or observation.
Yeah.
So we're so metrics driven. How do you know if you're winning or losing? Are you gaining or losing ground? Are we profitable or not? But what you lose in that is so many opportunities that are inexpensive to show you care, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to charge someone for an order cancellation? Well, it's a potential $1 million customer. You're going to charge them $500.
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
So you get so hung up in the metrics that you forget.
You can't build the metrics. We call it ROX dashboard, which stands for return on experience. And there's KPIs that you can tie directly to that. Re-sign rate, right? Earned growth rate. And that would come back to benefit you with re-sign rate because you're not splitting hairs with me and getting in a pissing match, right? And punishing me because whatever. But earned growth rate is a really cool metric today. And what it is all right, the past quarter, past year, here's 100% of your sales. Now, of that pie, what came from advertising versus what came from repeat and referrals? Repeat and referrals, depending on your business model, is earned. You earned that versus you bought it, right? And so companies track that, And if I'm coming back, that sales cycle is so much smaller, if anything, right? If I'm but if I found you on SEO, you're not the only person I call. I'm calling them, and you better be the best deal. Versus if I'm coming back, or he told me I have to do business with you, that's a short sales cycle where it's not as price sensitive. So we have a lot of the Net Promoter Score, all those things that, because CFOs and CEOs need a metric to justify it, and we understand that.
So how do you implement this? Privately held company, kind of.
Crawl, walk, and run.
Cleveland based.
Yeah.
What's the roadmap?
Yeah, we crawl, walk, and run. We have 10 commandments that we've followed that every world-class customer service company does. And, companies hire us, and they or you get the book and do it yourself, but they will, start with, a few of the commandments, like the day in the life and the customer experience action statement and the customer experience journey, what are your stages, your touch points, the sales journey, then the operations, whatever the business model is, and clarifying that. And so there's just a process, and you eat the apple one bite at a time. And then, again, there's different options. You need a good project lead on your end. You need executive sponsorship that this is, we're going to commit to this. And then you can, do it on your own. We have the CX coaches, depending on what size business you are, or the consultants. But I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Yeah.
Are there big differences in the process between a B2B and B2C company? And a lot of your examples were consumer.
Yeah, and 70% of our clients are B2B. It's just, there's not a lot of B2B that are household names. So like it's hard because, you've heard of Harley or you've heard of Starbucks, but you haven't heard of Superior Glove Manufacturing, right? Oh, wow. So it's sometimes not as easy as a model where you understand, if I give you an example in Starbucks, right? That totally makes sense. But yeah, no, they're very similar, but obviously B2B has a layer of complexity and typically more stakeholders. But yeah, no, we work more with B2B than anyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in our business, we do payroll and HR, and in a lot of your examples, right, and the day in the life is certainly appropriate, but we're talking to the HR.
Yeah, but that's who the day in the life is. So the DiJulius, we have a day in the life for the DiJulius group. Okay, B2B. And we're showing the CEO and the CXO and the HR person, that's our day in the life and what they're battling. So we better understand, why maybe they're not being as responsive, that they're afraid of, what's going on in their world, their pressures. Another thing with the B2B, where are you going with that? God, I forget.
A lot of times the person we're talking to they might not be the decision maker.
No, that's why you have several stakeholders, right? Like our CXO, our project lead on the DiJulius group, isn't the decision maker. It was a CEO or COO who hired us, but now, young Matt, 25, is the, head of customer experience. But we have to help him along. I want to tell you, especially for B2B companies, experiences is won and lost in the transitions. Okay, and what I mean by that is most companies, B2B, has a sales team and then an account management operations support team, right? We do too. And this also is the same for HR hiring and when you get everything. So the transition is Matt calls up our company and is interested in hiring us, and he gets Claudia. And he loves Claudia. Him and Claudia just connect. And they're finishing each other's sentences. And yeah, we can do that. We get a proposal. Yeah. Oh my God. You basically hired Claudia, right? However, as soon as that contract's signed, Claudia goes away. Now you get your consultant. and sometimes Matt goes away, and we get the project lead. Either case, it's like, whoa, what happened to Claudia? Claudia loved me. Claudia knew I just got back from Hawaii. Claudia, and the consultant. And then sometimes, Matt will say, hey, when do we do this? And the consultant say, oh no, that's not part of this. And Matt starts thinking that Claudia was over-promising, just get him to sign. So you guys have this. Same thing in HR, right? I'm applying, and you blow me away, and I oh my God, I want this job, right? We just connected. Well, now I show up next week, and he's my supervisor, and he's short-staffed, and he didn't even know I was coming in, and he just does not have the bandwidth because he has to serve tables, which he hasn't served tables in 20 years, right? But he has to go back to that because they don't have enough staff. And I'm like, this isn't what she told me this was going to be like. So experience is won and lost in the transition. Whenever you have handoffs, that is usually where complaints and cracks. So how do you do that? We do a warm handoff onboarding with Claudia and the consultant and Matt and his team, where they're all on. And then Claudia stays around for a little bit saying, Matt, you're like, oh, it's just like you said it is, right? Versus all of a sudden we get a brand new person that, and none of it's wrong, but it just didn't feel right to the customer. So when you think about where you get complaints, a lot of times it's in the transition from one department to another. Yeah. Yes.
This is just an amazing presentation.
Thank you.
And it's helpful to me in a different way because I don't have a big business with employees. However, I met a gentleman. You always have to know your employees. So at some point in time, you might have had a rocket scientist working for you. There was a time when NASA laid off a million of them. They were pumping gas and everything else. And one of my neighbors was dating an African-American gentleman who I met much later in his life. He worked on the Manhattan project. That man could not get a job after that anywhere. He worked in a service industry, like a restaurant, like a McDonald's, for, I don't know, a year or two before Lucasfilm found him. And then he was scarfed away and worked in high industry and then at different states. So you never know with all these immigrants coming in.
Yeah.
What is their real background?
Right.
What are their real
Well, that's another point about Ford. We better know the Ford of our employees. So one test we do in a leadership workshop, right? If you're all one company, we get this ahead of time. We hand out a list of your direct reports, right? You may have 15, 20, 6, whatever. You guys don't know it. And I say, all right, fill out Ford. And O doesn't count because you know what they do, right? They work for you. But sometimes people will struggle. And listen, I'm embarrassed. I've struggled. She's my assistant, and she has 2 kids. I think one's a boy and one's a girl. Like, my God, like shame on me, right? We got to know the Ford. And the other thing about going back to the culture is, we got to celebrate what seems to be little things to us, but we got to remember they're big things. So, employee gets their first car, right? Their first car. I don't know about you. My first car was a 1971 Pontiac Le Mans that cost a few $100. Shouldn't have been allowed on the road, right? But it, to this day, is my favorite car. Not because of the way it looked, not because of the way it rode, but it was mine, right? And I've driven off some, cooler cars off showroom floors the last few decades. Nothing compares to my Pontiac Le Mans, right? And we got to remember the first time an employee gets keys to her apartment, condo, house, like those little things are huge to them. And so, we have a thing that our leadership team hands in once a quarter, and it's a caught you doing some right spreadsheet. And you hand in, and here's the 15 people that report to you, and the last time you caught them doing some right, we have cards, caught you doing some right, you mail it to them, whatever. And, we'll look at it and say, listen, you haven't caught Matt doing anything right since December. The guy comes to work every day on time and works, right? There's a lot, you're not paying attention, right? Like, we need to be catching people doing something right.
There was a great book written back, this your Ford thing is great, because there was a book written back, I think, in the 80s by Harvey McKay, who ran the Envelope company called the McKay City.
Right, Swim with Sharks.
Swim with Sharks.
Yeah.
And we used to make our sales guys fill out McKay 66, so
Yeah.
as much as they could. And it was great because they could actually go, well, how's Joe doing?
Yeah.
Oh, is he on the track team in sanitation
Right.
or whatever? And it was a great way to.
So I say there's a I'll finish with this. There's a conversation gift. There's a gift in every conversation. So something I skipped because of time, but I want to go back to on your point. All right, the conversation gift. So even though in all our CRM systems we have a Ford field, okay, I always recommend to people do not be typing in that while you're in a call because you're about, at least I am, 5 to 7 seconds behind, which is an eternity. And what I mean by that is I'll be like, Matt, you know, you got any big plans for the weekend? And I'm typing in that something he just told me, right? He just got back from blah, blah. He says, yeah, my wife's aunt died. We have to go, back to wherever for a funeral. And I'm still, I'm like, oh, sounds like good, you're gonna have a blast. Not realizing, right? So we have these 4 desk pads, our clients we use, that we just, shorthand, and then after we can update them. And so pre-call, 8:30 in the morning, I'll look at my appointments. I'll look in Salesforce, see, he has 2 kids he went to. And then maybe I'll go to LinkedIn to see if we have any mutual connections. It might be a first-time call, but I'll do the prep. Then update Ford. It'll just come up naturally. And then here, there's always a Ford call to action, professionally and personally, right? Professionally is, all right, you want to, get more information on blah, blah, blah. But the personal is so easy. You're running your first half marathon. You're going to Charleston this weekend, and you've never been there. Whatever. I mean, there'll always be little things. And you can send a link. Here's the top 3 restaurants in Charleston. Here's a great article on how to eat right. Yeah, and people forget. It takes less than 30 seconds, and it blows people's mind of that. Okay. I thought you were coming up here to give me the hook.
Yeah, I am. John, are you going to be willing to stick around for a few minutes if people have questions? Yeah, I want to try to get everybody out at 9 because that's what we do. Let's have a round of applause for John.